Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Thiago, and here I have a really special guest with me, Rafael.
Hi guys. So I'm Rafa. I'm from Knowledge 21, a Brazilian company, digital transformation company. So we are talking about the three things that companies do wrong concerning Agile, right? Wow.
Yeah, we don't mean to hurt nobody.
Yeah. No hurts feeling, right?
No, yeah, nor, yeah. So, but yeah, we might say something that might be maybe too honest,
Yeah. But that's why we are here.
and that's all. I think that's all. Agile is all about that, right? Exposing problems.
Perfect.
So let's start.
Yeah.
So what's the first one?
Yeah, so there's this thing going on, right? This big thing that every company is looking for, which is OKRs, right? So everyone is talking about it. Google is doing it. Google has invented it, even though it wasn't Google, right?
No.
And every company is doing it, thinking that somehow OKR will be like the savior of the company, right? And that it will put everyone into the biggest businesses and so on. But actually, the idea here that we wanted to talk about with OKRs and also with other things is that when you do something in your company, when you try to bring a new technique, when you try to bring a new tool or whatever it is, in fact, there are some stuff behind it that you should also be aware of, so you get the real benefits out of it, right? So what we normally say is that when you try to use some tool, there are actually behaviors you should expect from people, right? When they are using these tools, so that the tool can work properly. And behind those behaviors, you should also be looking for principles, right? So what are the principles that those people should be following in order to get the right results? Because those principles are based on value, core values that your company should have in order to get the real benefit out of this stuff that people is doing, right? So, for example, when we're talking about OKRs, we are trying to see people who can behave in such way, right? So we want people to follow up on metrics, right? So they should look to metrics and make decisions upon them. You should also be trying to see if people are actually acting with transparency, right? So are we willing to actually talk about the problems and about the issues that we have, and are we willing to discuss them openly so we think that we can actually also discuss on how to solve those problems? So one of the biggest problems we normally say that traditional KPIs and goals have is that people is doing everything just to look good, right?
Yeah.
We are doing everything to guarantee, yeah, just to check, right? So since our money depends on it, so let's make sure we look good so we have our money in the end of the year and not necessarily the results that we are trying to get, right? So if we don't see transparency, what's the point in doing OKRs or such? Not to talk also about if people is actually experimenting stuff, right? We are trying new things, we are trying to make things differently, and do we have this cadency, right? So are we doing things in a constant pace where it allows us to test and see the results of it and learn from it and then adapt again, which is basically what we talk about in build, measure, learn, or in any agile cycle, right? The small cycles, so we can get results faster and learn from it.
So, for example, how often do we do the exercise of taking a look on our backlog, for example, and seeing, okay, how much this thing or this feature or this new way of doing the service we're gonna do impacts what we set as a key result? So, how close are we gonna be of our objective if we are doing this, whatever it is you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So which cadence you are doing and using to do like a retrospective and take a look and take a step back and take a look, okay, or even a step forward,
Yeah.
if you're planning something on where are these action going to take you closer to your objective and key results or further away from it.
Perfect. And then what we see in reality is people, companies doing OKRs, but they set long goals and they set
no metrics.
No metrics, right? Just like binary stuff, like will I deliver this or not, instead of actually measuring impact, right? And like setting something like an OKR for a year and doing nothing during the year to change behavior or to actually do new things that will enable the company to get the results that they want. So if we're going to behave in the same way that we have always been behaving about traditional goals and KPIs, what is the point, right? And maybe that's because, like we said, these companies are not getting that they should have some principles, right, behind those behaviors.
Exactly.
So are they actually looking to follow up on, for example, delegation? We are really letting people decide what to do, right? Or are we adapting, right? Do we have this as a core principle and it's something that we believe that we should be doing? Do we trust people, right, to do this or not? So if we don't have those principles, in the end, nothing will actually work independently of the tool that you are using. Right, and it's funny to see that in the end, all those tools and all those frameworks, they all go back to the Agile core values, right? So you can think that OKRs, if you follow up on this, those behaviors and those principles, they all go back to responding to change, right? Over following a plan. So it goes back to the Agile Manifesto and its core values.
Now we have the second thing that's happening a lot and is like really trendy in companies, and we want to do and gonna go through the same exercise as we did for OKR, which are squads. Right?
The big name,
the new feature team, the new cross-functional team, and the old silo.
Yeah, so once again, companies just adopting this Spotify model, right? Thinking that copying the tools is what will make them agile, or is what will make them as successful as Spotify, right? But they don't understand, once again, what are the behaviors and principles and actually the values that are behind those. And let's do this exercise again, right? So when we talk about squads, in the way that Spotify uses them, right? They were actually looking for a small number of people that can collaborate together, change their experience, right? And take advantage of their collective intelligence to make good decisions, right? And then when you go to companies, they say, okay, so how many teams you have? They say, no, we have squads. And when you take a look at one, it's like 20 people, right, who doesn't even sit together. And also, right, the more people you have, the less you will have of one of the things that is like one of the most important things in Agile teams, which is they are self-organizing, right? So they have this ability to make those decisions, collaborate, but also to decide on how they will act. And that's what gives those teams speed, right? In the ability to adapt really fast. Once you have 20, 30 people inside those squads,
things get difficult.
Yeah, just in order for you to just get consensus, it's like a whole month of discussions and so on. So you're not really getting the benefit of these small self-organized teams.
Which is directly connected with what we are expecting these squads to deliver, which is something related to value, right? Whatever value is for the squad, a behavior that we are waiting for or that is expected from a squad is be value oriented.
Yeah.
Right?
So we expect from Agile teams to be autonomous enough. And one of the ways to get autonomy is to understand why you are doing the things that you're doing, right? So this is what we talk when we say value oriented. So the team doesn't make anything that doesn't connect somehow to what the business is expecting
or the
users are expecting. Perfect. And once again, what we see in the companies is a lot of teams that is using maybe a Kanban board or using some method like Scrum. But in the end, you ask them, so why do you do what you do? And the answer is because someone told me to do, right?
Yeah.
So they don't understand the value behind it, and they're just following orders.
Yeah.
So in the end, you're not really getting what you were buying, right? With the Spotify model. So once again, this all connects to principles and values, and we should be thinking about, okay, so are we chasing short cycles, right? Are we trying to deliver value constantly throughout the time?
Are we doing the most simple things we can in order to achieve whatever we are looking for? So without over engineering, for example, something.
Yeah, and are those teams, right? Even if we call them squads, are those actually adaptable, right? And if we are not preserving the size and the collaboration, so on, they will never be adaptable, right? They will take too much time to make any decision and to change directions and to adapt to what the customer or the market is asking from our company, and then once again, we don't get the value out of it, right? And trying to make this connection with the core values of Agile, right, and the manifesto. Here we're talking about individuals and their interactions should be more important, right, Dan?
Ok, vai, faz a frase de novo.
So individuals and interactions should be more important than
Process and tools, right?
Yeah, and we are just giving them those tools and those processes.
And we don't know what it is for, what's the goal of this process if it's not supporting people in the first place.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's go into the third.
Yeah, the third and I think equally polemic.
Yeah.
Right? we made a good selection here.
Yeah.
And it is
design thinking. Right? So this is like the biggest probably trend today in companies that are trying to be digital and companies that are trying to change the way that they are doing their products. And every time you go into one of those and you ask them, so what has changed, right? Is they say now, so now we are customer centric.
We are doing design thinking for everything. Dropping the hammer of design thinking like Thor, you know?
Yeah. But once again, we see the dysfunctions all around, right? So we should be doing design thinking because we believe that through empathy, right, and through collaboration and through experimentation, right, we will have a different way of thinking on our solutions, which is, let's think about first the customer and their problems, right?
Yeah.
Before we take any decision on solutions, right? And even as we are deciding those things, and when we think we have a solution for something, first let's test, right? And let's test with those that are more important, which are the customer. When we talk about design thinking, we are talking about also another thing that companies are trying desperately to chase, which is innovation, right?
Yeah.
So we are talking here about old companies that does same stuff the same way for years now, and they know that they have to adapt, innovate to be able to be again competitive, right, in the market. So, but when we talk about innovation, there are those three key aspects, right, about innovation that if we don't actually believe them in as principles to what we are doing in design thinking, once again, there's no point.
The outcome won't be this one that you expect, and maybe what will happen is that you're gonna default will be of the design thinking and not the things you didn't do in order to do design thinking properly.
Yeah, so make sure that if you are doing design thinking, you are actually looking for viability, right? So can we actually make this work for the business, right? So is it worth to do this? It will bring us money, it will bring us satisfaction for the customer, it will bring us new customers, right? It will make them happy, and so on. We should also be thinking about feasibility. Yeah, right? So
is it possible to do, actually? Are we trying to do something that with our reality, with technology or whatever we have, can we deliver it? Is it doable?
Yeah, and last but not least, also desirability, right? So you gotta make sure that what you're building is actually something that your customer needs, right? So that solves some problem for him, and that adds value for him, for his life, or for whatever he's trying to do with your product, right? So if you don't have those three, once again, why do design thinking? If you're not looking for those principles in what you're doing, what's the point, right? And we see the companies go into design thinking just to make sure that they will validate a solution that they already have, right?
Exactly.
So they are just looking for some bias, right? For something that tells us, okay, we are in the right direction, instead of actually going with a mindset that is, we are trying to invalidate our ideas, right? Because the less we have to do, then the more we will do the right things.
Exactly.
Right? And companies not always have that mindset, right?
It will take us away from what's the problem we are trying to solve, and what's the solution we are trying to do to solve this problem, and how is the solution feasible, viable, and desirable. So we're in the sweet spot that's what we're looking for. All the rest, we don't care about it. We don't have to commit to it.
Perfect. Right? Yeah, and in the same sense that we're talking about OKRs and also about squads, right? Design thinking is directly connected to one of the core values of Agile. We can find them in the manifesto, right? And here we're talking about the collaboration with the client, right? Should be more important than negotiating contracts.
Exactly.
Right? So if we're doing design thinking just to be sure that we have the right idea, or just to be sure that we have already thought of it all, instead of being open to failure and to open to learn new things and to listen to our customers, to guarantee that we understand the problems that they have and actually what is that they expect, right, from us and from a new solution, then we will be just negotiating contracts, right? Pushing some solution into them, or just making sure that we are on schedule with whatever is the plan that we have.
So it is all about learning. There's no failure when you're talking about design thinking. Either you have a win or a quick win, either you learn something. So acabou. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys.
If you have other examples of things that companies are not doing well because they are missing the core values behind it, let us know in the comments, right? Share your ideas so we can all be aware on how to not fall on those traps, right? How to go into the right direction with those tools.
If you want to somehow, some way talk directly with Rafa, and I'm gonna put his LinkedIn link on the description. Also, email or stuff. No.
Twitter.
His Twitter. So his LinkedIn account profile and also his Twitter is on the description. So feel free to click it and see whatever this really smart and funny guy, which I like a lot, has to say. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next week. It takes us far, far away for the third topic that we're gonna say. That is
so design thinking, right?
No, value oriented.
Ok, foi mal. Eu pensei que você falou third topic, eu falei, então a gente pulou pro último de alguma forma.
Esse aqui vai
Bloopers.
Tá,